Are you wondering what it costs to live here in Bellingham and Whatcom County? Hey everyone, it's Aldo here. I'm a local realtor in Bellingham and Whatcom County. This is the Living in Bellingham YouTube channel where we talk about what it's like to live, eat, breathe here in our area. Not only am I going to talk about what real estate costs, but gas prices, restaurants, the day in and day out on exactly what it costs to live here locally in Bellingham and Whatcom County. If you haven't done so already, make sure you like this video, hit the subscribe button, now we can get notified. We do these videos every single week, but let's get into the actual cost of what it's like here living in Bellingham in our local area. And yes, let's start out with the big one. What is real estate like here in our area? And in Whatcom County, our average home sold price in 2023 was right around $650,000. Now you have to think that was the average in our whole entire county. In Bellingham, because Bellingham is the biggest city in Whatcom County, our average sold price was about $813,000. So much higher than our actual whole county. If you go just a little bit up north from us, probably 10 minutes in Ferndale, Washington is about $630,000. In Linden, Washington is about $671,000. And for Blaine, which is our smallest area, and it butts up right to the Canadian border, is $612,000. Now those are the average sold prices in 2023. So meaning if you are buying that house at $650,000, you can probably expect your taxes per year to be around that $5,500 to $6,500 a year mark, where I know in Texas it's almost 2 or 3%, which is ridiculous. You're paying $10,000 for a $600,000 house down there in some areas. For those of you that are looking at buying a house that's a lot more expensive, maybe that $1 million+ home, you're probably gonna be somewhere between $8,000 to $11,000 a year, which I think is pretty good. But I think a lot of you are going to be renting here prior to you actually purchasing a home. So let's talk about rentals. And I got my notes for this because I wanna get it right. Now, rentals here in Bellingham and all across Whatcom County, we have very low vacancy rates. You can either be trying to rent a house or an apartment or a condo, whatever it is. We have quite a bit of options. So I'm gonna give you some price ranges here. We also have a very large property management company that manages, just about 2,000 rentals or so. So I got the stats from them, and just for a 1-bedroom, this is just Bellingham, is gonna cost you probably between $1,100 to $1,300 a month in rent. Now, if you're looking for a 2-bedroom rental, it's gonna be anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500 a month. Now remember, this could be for an apartment or this could be for a house. You're not gonna probably get an apartment for $2,600, and you're probably not gonna get a house for $1,500 that's a 2-bedroom. So keep that in mind. This is the price range, this is what you can get. Now for a 3-bedroom, $1,900 all the way up to $3,000, probably even to $3,500 depending on what you're actually looking at. $1,900, you're probably looking for a townhouse or a condo for that $1,900 range. That $3,000 to $3,500, that's gonna get you a house. You could find it for a little bit less depending on the age of the house, on how nice it is. We are starting to see a lot more new construction homes, so it is probably gonna be newer, or it's gonna be in a better location here in Bellingham. So let's get into utility costs here in Bellingham and Whatcom County. So utilities here, we have Puget Sound Energy for electricity, Cascade Natural Gas for gas. If you're out in the county, you probably have propane. If you're in the city, you're gonna have Bellingham Water and Sewer. If you're out in the county a little bit, you'll probably have a septic tank. So let's get into what will your electricity bill look every single month. Now, obviously, depending on the size of your home, I have to just put that disclaimer out there. I would say you're gonna be paying for electricity anywhere between $100 to $150 a month in electricity. And those are probably between the months of October through February, even maybe partially through March. Obviously, those are our coldest months. We use a lot of heat. Some of you that are coming from the warmer climate down in California, Arizona, or in Texas, you have higher electricity bills in the summer because of your AC. In the spring and summer though, you're gonna have a very, very low electricity bill. Depending if you're in an apartment, you're probably talking maybe 40 bucks, 50 bucks a month. If you're in a larger house and you have AC, you're probably maybe thinking 80 bucks to 100 bucks a month. So it does drop off pretty significantly. Gas here is pretty popular. So your gas bill, and it's relatively inexpensive compared to electricity. So if you do have a house that has a furnace, you're probably gonna be spending maybe between $50 to $80 a month in the winter time. Now, if you're in an apartment or a townhouse, most likely you're not gonna have a gas unit. Maybe you have a little gas fireplace, so you're probably gonna be very cheap, probably 20 to 40 bucks. Propane here is expensive. Our house that we do have propane, and a couple 100-gallon propane tank. I have to double check on the exact amount, but we pay probably 500 to 600 bucks to get that thing filled up, and we have to go through it probably 3 to 4 times a year. Comcast here, that's our main local internet and cable provider. I know a lot of you probably don't use cable, like our family here. We just use their internet service, and then we just stream a billion Netflixes and YouTubes and whatnot. But Comcast, you can probably get internet anywhere between $40 to $80 a month. If you want cable and internet, you're gonna be between 100 to 180 bucks a month, depending on your services. Some of you are sports fans and you need all your sports. So now let's go into our gas prices. Transportation here, I'm not really gonna get too much into bus lines and all that, because yes, they do have good routes, but it's really not that popular. The majority of people here have a car or they bike. Yes, we are in Bellingham. Bike is essential for a lot of people. They will bike everywhere. For those of you that have a Costco membership, Costco is very big here in our area. You may have Sam's Club or Kroger's or from wherever you're from. At the time of filming this, we are in January of 2024. The gas prices at Costco were $3.39 a gallon, which I think is really, really good. Now, of course, if you're coming from the Midwest or from the South, you're probably like $2.50. So let me know what your gas prices are down below and where you're from, because I would love to know. And yes, if you watch any of my other videos, you will know that Bellingham is relatively more expensive to live in. And one of those things that is expensive is our gas prices. So if you go to a Shell and Chevron, it's not gonna be $3.39 for a gallon. It's gonna be more like $3.79 a gallon, $3.89 if you use a credit card, which I always hate. These are the gas prices of January of 2024. So whenever you're watching this, gas prices could be higher or they could be lower. This isn't the final gas price. There are some places here in Bellingham that do have really, really cheap gas, probably $3 a gallon. I'm not an expert in gas, so I don't know if that's better than Chevron or Shell or Costco, or if it's worse, but hey, that's up to you. Go wherever you like. But those are the gas prices. They are fairly expensive here. So let me know where you're from and what your gas prices are. Now I want to talk about gym memberships here, because in our community, Bellingham and Whatcom County is a very active community. We have gyms like Anytime Fitness, which is going to cost you maybe about $50-ish or so a month. They give you a cool little key. You can go 24/7, which is awesome. We also have Fit Evo, which is a larger gym. Fit Evo, you're about 30 bucks a month, which is a traditional gym, pretty big. We also have KO Fitness, which is probably one of the hottest gyms here in Bellingham. I used to go there a lot. It's a very large, upscale, brand new equipment, beautiful, beautiful gym. They started out in this little hole in the wall, but now KO Fitness is just awesome to go there. The community is great. Their cost of prices, I think they're about 70 or 80 bucks a month. You also get a little key fob, so it is 24/7 access, which is really, really cool. And then we have HIIT gyms and CrossFit gyms. I go to Apex Fitness, which I absolutely love. You have phenomenal coaches that will give you the workout. You have a group HIIT class setting. You also have CrossFit gyms here as well that are very popular. But those sort of gyms are probably gonna cost you anywhere between $150 to $200 a month. I think they're worth it. Depends on what you like to do. If you don't like a lot of that cardio stuff and you just wanna have your own routine, we obviously have gyms for that. All right, well now let's talk about our groceries, because I think our groceries are fairly expensive compared to some others. There's 3 major grocery stores. The one closest to me is Hagen's, which I think is the most expensive. You can also go online, and it's called payscale.com. You can go in there and look at Bellingham and you can see the cost of living. They'll give you what the average eggs, milk, and all that stuff is, which is pretty neat. But I actually went to Hagen's and I got some prices for you guys. I just thought of like, hey, what would I buy for my family? And what's the cost of that? Now I'm gonna give you some price ranges. For just a gallon of milk, you're looking at $3.99 all the way up to $6.49 if you want whole milk. I don't know if there's a lot of people that drink whole milk. But anyways, once again, let me know what your gallon of milk is wherever you're at. So hopefully that's cheaper here in our area. We want all that organic stuff. So you can get a dozen extra large pasteurized eggs for $12 a dozen. That's really expensive. Obviously, you can get anything between $3 a dozen to $12 a dozen. So there are some options in between there for sure. Bananas, I love bananas. So for 8 or so bananas, you can get It's about $2.57. Organic, 99 cents a pound, which is about $3.22. Ground beef is $5.99 a pound. You can get just your traditional brand name loaf of bread. It's gonna be $2.99 for the loaf, but you can go all the way up and get like Dave's Killer Bread or even something better than that, and it's gonna be $7.49. Peanut butter, you're anywhere from $2.69 for the peanut butter all the way up to $5.49. Once again, we have a lot of organic options here in our area, so that's probably where that $5.49 price range is coming. Jelly is from $4 all the way up to $9. Frosted Flakes, which was my favorite, was $7.49. It was on sale for $3.99, but I was like, damn, that's expensive. Honey Nut Cheerios, same thing, $7.49. Now this is the larger box, like the family size or whatever. So yeah, I thought cereal was a lot more expensive nowadays than when I was a kid. Pasta and noodles, that's something that, you know, our family, we eat quite a bit. We eat a lot of pasta. Now pasta, once again, you can go anywhere from $2.50 to $6. Pasta sauce, you can get Prego, $3.50 for a can, all the way up to Rao's, which we love. We get it at Costco though, it's a lot cheaper, but Rao's just for a single bottle is $10. We can't forget about toilet paper. We need some toilet paper for 12 rolls. If you want something that's pretty inexpensive, you're about $6.99. But if you get Charmin, you get 12 rolls at extra soft, $25 for 12 rolls. You can go to Costco and get some of this stuff a lot more affordable, which is great. Yeah, that is our grocery prices. Like I said, this was just at Hagen's. Now I'm gonna go in a different video and I'm gonna talk about, hey, where is more value in our store? I think Hagen's is the most expensive grocery store in our area. They do have a lot of sales. That's for another video. So let's talk about eating out. Eating out here is very, very big. Now, if you watched any of my last videos, I'm not saying our food isn't good, like our food is good, we just have the same of everything. But let's go out just for a normal restaurant. So we have what's popular here is called Bob's Burger and Brew. They have burgers, wraps, salads, beer, cocktails, so on and so forth. If you wanted to go and just get a regular bacon burger, it's about $18. A wrap is $17. It's a pretty big wrap. The burgers are fairly good size. They give you a ton of fries. So you do get a good amount of food. You know, if you get a Coke, about $4. If you get a kid's meal, like a kid's burger, you're about $6. Total in all, you're about $45 with tax and tip, probably 50 to 55 bucks. And I think that's pretty average if you're going somewhere like that to getting burger and fries. With Jasmine and I, and with our daughter Zara, we don't really get her a kid's meal too much because she's not gonna eat it all yet. But I would say typically 40 to 50 bucks, an average meal for us. If we get, you know, drinks or cocktails, which we're not big drinkers at dinner, then it's gonna be maybe 70 bucks or so, because cocktails here are fairly expensive. Now, if you wanna go get some Mexican food, you're probably gonna pay 17 bucks, big plate of 3 enchiladas, rice, beans. You get like a little small combo. Now this is from El Gitano, which is one of the, I think the better Mexican restaurants here in Bellingham. Small combo plate is about 13 bucks, kids meal, $7. You're probably gonna be about 40 bucks, maybe 50 bucks with tax and tip. Now, going to Mexican restaurant is very hard without buying a margarita or buying a Corona or something like that. So yes, you can probably be anywhere between $40 to $70 just for a dinner for two, depending if you're gonna buy a drink or not. Fine dining here in Bellingham. I would say it's very hard to find fine dining here. We do have a few spots. Cardinal, which is more like the fine dining. The plates there are probably between $25 and $40 a plate. So Jasmine and I go somewhere, you're probably gonna spend between 80 to 120 bucks for a nicer dinner. Depending where you're coming from, that could sound like a lot, but depending if you're coming from Seattle, LA, San Diego, or even New York, that may sound just like an average meal. But if you're coming from Montana, or you're coming from the Midwest somewhere, that sounds expensive, yes, but like I said, we don't have a lot of fine dining options. We do just have regular restaurants, which I think can be expensive where you're coming from as well. Now, for you parents out there, let's talk about childcare. We have a daughter, we understand, we have a nanny. Zara is 2.5, but we have twins coming in February. So we know the pain that we will see when it comes to childcare in a couple of months. So childcare here, I would say it's pretty scarce. We don't have a lot of options. We do, but we have a very, very high demand when it comes to childcare. We don't have enough daycares around. So we typically, when you are trying to get your kid even in preschool or into a daycare, you have to start thinking of that as soon as you can. Preschools, you're probably a year or two out and just to be on the waiting list. Daycares, it could be a little bit less, but yeah, you could be 6 months, it could be a year for you. If you're thinking about moving here, get on a daycare or preschool list as soon as you can. If you're looking for a nanny, you're probably thinking about $17 to $25 an hour. Yes, that seems like a lot, but that's what their going rate is around here. Now, obviously, if you have a friend and they have a daughter or a son that can just watch your kids for 12, 13 bucks an hour, that's one thing. But if you want somebody that has some sort of background with kids or that has some experience, you're probably paying them 17 to 25 bucks an hour. I don't know exactly if that will be per kid, but if you have 2 kids, I'm thinking maybe add an extra $5 or $7 on top of that per hour per kid. Now for daycare for 1 kid, for 3 days a week part-time, you're probably about 800 to 1,000 bucks a month. Yes, you heard me right, that's for part-time. Now if you have multiple kids and you want to go full-time, you're probably thinking $1,500 to $3,000 a month just for daycare. This isn't talking about a nanny. Of course, there's different options out there there's different websites, there's different apps in our area that you can find nannies and daycares. Yes, there are some mom and pop shops that will have their own that will be less expensive, but there are also some that will be a lot more expensive. But this is just an idea, and I know I don't want to scare anybody, but it's just a broad range. You can find childcare for 1,000 bucks a month, you know, full-time for 1 kid, but there is that also part-time for 1 kid, you know, for 1,000 bucks. Once again, this isn't really narrowed down. I have to give you some ranges because there's so many out there. It takes a lot of time to do a lot of this research, so I didn't want to get too deep into it all, but that is essentially what the cost it is going to be for childcare. I know that's probably very important for parents. I know it's important for us, so hopefully this can be relatable of some sort. Now I want to end the video with wages. I'm not going to go into, hey, what's the average wage here and all that, but I want to bring you over to the computer and let's talk about pay scale. This is going to show you if you're moving from Houston, what do you need to make to live here in Bellingham? If you're moving from San Diego or somewhere in California, what's that going to cost? So I just want to briefly go over that. I don't know how accurate it is, but it gives you some sort of good information on what to expect. Okay guys, so I want to show you pay scale, and I want to show you down here, you can see there's medium household, medium rents, energy bills, cell phone, gas, so on and so forth. But what I'm going to show you is up here. So if you're moving from, let's just say Houston, because we have a lot of people moving here from Texas, and you were making $70,000. So you have to make essentially about, this is the thing, I don't know how much that this is true. The cost of living here in Bellingham is about 30% higher and about 70% higher than Houston. So it's saying that you're gonna have to make roughly about $90,000 or so to have that same lifestyle, I guess. Now, if you're coming from Dallas, Texas, a little bit less. So it looks like Dallas is a little bit more expensive, so you need to make about $80,000 or so. Now, if you're coming from San Diego or somewhere in California, if you make $70,000 in San Diego, you really need to be making only $58,000 here in Bellingham to have that same sort of lifestyle. But if you're like coming from Montana, let's just go Kalispell, Montana, you need to make about $86,000 or so to live here in Bellingham. Like I said, I don't know how accurate this is, but I know in Bellingham, it does cost more, 20% higher than the national average. Our housing price is about 40% higher than national averages. Our utility is 16% less, and our groceries are about 13% more. So I guess if you're spending 100 bucks somewhere, it's gonna be 113 bucks somewhere else. You can get reports about all this, but you can go on this. Like I said, I don't know how accurate. It says gallon of milk was $2.75 and our carton of eggs is $2.55. Bananas, hamburger, no idea where they're pulling this $5.81 from, because I don't know where you can get that. I don't know if you can get McDonald's burger for $5.81. This isn't Bellingham. Like I said, you can kind of use this tool if you want to, but I don't know how accurate it is, but it's just kind of some good guidance and information. All right, guys, I hope that this was really good information for all of you. I know this was a longer video, but we really wanted to go in depth. I didn't want to just skim over some parts. So please, guys, once again, my name's Aldo. I'm a local realtor here in Bellingham and Whatcom County. I get calls, email, and text every single month from people like you that are looking at buying a house here or moving into the area. So if that's you, give me a call, shoot me a text. All my information information is going to be down here below. We'd love to help you out, come up with a game plan. But once again, guys, this is the Living in Bellingham YouTube channel. Any other comments or questions, please leave them down below or just reach out to us, and we'll see you next time.